Good evening, everybody. Apologize for the technical difficulties getting started here. Once again, the internet gremlins have attacked yours truly and beat my computer with a stick, apparently. So, but we're going to make it work with what we got. And with that, welcome, everybody. We have finally made it after what has seemed like almost years worth of subterfuge, smoke screens, conflicting stuff, and all this kind of stuff. We have reached the eve of the NFL draft. And what do you think, guys? We're all here. We got a big show for you tonight. We got up in the right-hand corner up there, we have the Smokehouse King himself, Reggie Adams Jr.
What's up?
Down in the lower right corner, we have from the Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Mr. Drew Bunting. Drew, how you doing?
What's up? Hey, Christmas Eve. Get them up there, boys. Get them up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's Christmas Eve, and we're about to go draft happy tomorrow night.
That's right. Dynasty, baby.
Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed. I love VU. You guys are my favorite two Vikings Uncensored employees, you and Lance. I want to let you know that.
Thanks, bud.
Hey, we'll let the bosses know that. I'm sure they'll appreciate hearing that.
I love this show, and it still has the best opening since you guys started, March 21? Still has the best opening on any podcast in America.
Agreed.
That's the best fucking opening I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I love when Foreman puts the juke on Billy Simpson from the Rams. I love that.
That's nuts.
I was
It's
literally
nuts.
saying that watching the opening. I'm like, that is the sickest. Oh, my God.
That's my favorite part of the opening.
I would have loved to see that guy play.
You guys single-handedly have the market on the greatest opening in Viking podcast. Thanks for having me.
Well, appreciate having you on. And of course, we're also going to hopefully be joined a little bit later on by the other half of the founding fathers of the Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Mr. Ted Glover. However, he's currently watching his grandson play T-ball. So we gave him a pass for that because, of course, family comes first. And Tyler Forness from Vikings First and Skol and the Real Forno Show and several other things, including the sporting news, should be on a little bit later here as well. So
Pat Hawkinson's going to be here?
He's talked to him earlier today. He said he should be able to hop on for a little while. So
that's great. I love chatting with Willie Nelson. He's a great dude. He's a great dude.
Oh, yeah. And we got a good show here, guys. We got a lot to talk about. We got put your stuff in the comments. Let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. And there's, just like Lance just threw there's been a lot of smoke going on this week. Hey, we spare no expense in the prop department right here, I tell you.
It worked out perfect.
Lance has shown us what O'Connell's going to be doing 5 minutes before the draft starts.
That's right.
I mean, I know, Drew, you're not on Twitter.
No, fuck
Lance, very little. Reggie, I think you are a little bit, but not much comparatively. Some of the stuff that we have seen on social media and stuff, especially this last week, is just enough to make you start drinking just by reading a freaking message.
You guys, perfect comment to start with, I think, by 50 Shades here at Boucher. What do you guys all think about that?
All right, let's start her off. Reggie, you're up on top. Why don't you go first?
All right, let's see. Is it worth trading 3 first for the third quarterback left on the board? We've already discussed this 1,000 times. It doesn't matter what you give up if that guy ends up being the man. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I've already talked to Lance for a little bit since we've been here. I think O'Connell really, really likes May. But I think that he loves McCarthy. That's just my opinion. After the visits, the way McCarthy fits the offense, I think it's him. And I think if you get that guy and he can come in, like I was telling Lance, I think McCarthy would compete to start. I'm not saying starting him is the best option, but I am saying that I don't care if it's 3 firsts, if it's the 2 firsts this year and our 4th, and we get something back. I don't know what the trade will be, but I think it's worth it regardless because we're going to go up and get our guy, and the dynasty is coming. So hop on or get the F out of the way.
All right. Drew, how about you? Is it worth three first round picks to go get the number 3 quarterback off the board?
First off, I'd like to thank Twitter and all the social media for carrying me through the offseason with all the detailed information and accuracy. I feel like I got a great handle on it because of Twitter. I really feel like I know what the Vikings are going to do. Like Reggie said, the unwritten thing is, Ryno, it's worth it. If you get your guy and it ends up being who you want or whatever, if that's your guy, it doesn't matter what you give up. 10 first rounders, whatever, dude. But I personally don't like to do that. But I'm old school. You guys are all younger than me, but us old school guys we don't want to give up shit for shit. We want to just save all of our picks. You notice that? The old people like me, they don't want to give up a bunch of picks. I'd love to get a quarterback at 11. You're not going to get a quarterback at 11 that we want, that they want, I don't think. So I understand you got to trade 11, 23, and probably, if we can get away with getting next year's like at least maybe a second or a third, I don't want to give another first up, but Reggie was right. If it's your guy, you got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I don't personally want to give up 3. I'd much love to be at 11 and get our guy, but we don't know if that's going to happen yet. I'm just saying, 3 firsts is a lot. I don't want to. I'd much rather give up 2 and something else and have at least a first next year. But
all right,
yeah. Of course, we're going to get an extra first round pick from the Atlanta Falcons because of the Kirk Cousins tampering, anyway. So
I'm thinking that's going to happen if they don't announce it soon. I'm thinking if it's bad because they may just take their next year's and give it to us.
Well, and I've seen stuff this week that says that they won't have a resolution to this by the time the draft rolls around tomorrow.
Right.
So it very likely could end up being next year if that happens. But
we're not getting any picks from Atlanta. We're not.
I don't see that
probably
either.
not. But I mean,
they're going to get picks taken away from them, but we're not going to get given anything, I don't think.
I mean, there is a precedence in the past for, swapping of picks, but whether that happens or not this year, it'd be interesting for tomorrow, but I'm guessing it's not going to happen by that time. So we can't bank on it.
No, definitely not. It just, there's been a lot of stuff saying that they were talking to Cousins long before tampering. I mean, after we didn't extend him during the season, apparently they were already talking. So this could have been going on for months. And from what Goodell's reaction is kind of on the way he got it, I think he's pretty pissed.
Well, I mean, if they're going to make an example of this and keep this crap from happening, they need to drop the hammer. But again,
I'm thinking. You take a first round from somebody next year, they're not going to tamper again and give it to the team they took the player from.
They're not. They're going to take some picks from the Falcons, but this is all. It's all a hit or miss with Roger Goodell. If this was the Niners or some Buffalo, there wouldn't be any kind of. It's all the NFL isn't. How they discipline is a joke.
I think honestly, right now we just need to stick with what we know. What we know right now is that we have the 11th pick and the 23rd pick right now at this point. As far as the whole Atlanta thing goes, we don't know nothing about that or what's going to happen about that.
Oh, so we got a rational comment. That means he's not on Twitter. Lance is not on Twitter.
Now my opinion on the whole 3 first round picks is this: is if you hit it and you get it right, people are going to remember it forever. And the opposite can be said if you miss on this guy and trading up to get this guy and he's not the guy that you thought he was. But I will say this quarterback class this year feels much different to me than recent years past. With the Jameis Winston's going in the first round and then your Trevor Lawrence class and him only being the one that actually came to fruition. I believe this crop of quarterbacks is going to really put out some good talent as far as at the next level.
Let's hope it's not 2021, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it goes to say there's 3 guys I'd be happy with landing with the Vikings in this group alone. But with that being said, Another positive about this is if we give up 3 first rounders, you got to remember it's recency. So I mean, we'd be giving up 2 first rounders this year, 11 and 23, and then next year's first. Well, then after that, our picks come back, and that gives us time to see if the guy that we do pick this year develops or not. And then in 2026, and if he's not going down the right road, you go and you take a shot at somebody else then in the first round.
Yeah. The people need to keep in mind, I think, is look at Trey Lance. They traded a bunch for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And weren't they in the Super Bowl? I mean,
they bounced in the NFC Championship game the year before.
It takes, they bounce back quick from that. If you have a good roster and good coaches and a good system, it doesn't take 6 years to rebuild. You'll be back within a couple of years. Like Lance says, go get your next guy. But
I think
we're got to have the pieces around him.
We're sitting at a time right now with this team where Zimmer sat when he first came in and started taking this team to the next level. But it's in this time it starts with O'Connell. The talent is just the youth that this team is going to have coming into this season, and the expectations with players like Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, and then whoever that quarterback of the future is leading this offense, and then with Flores getting that next year with his defense. Right. I mean, the window's wide open now, and this quarterback pick in the draft is going to come a long ways, and where we're going to end up in the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. And just to put a bow on that first question, for me, I kind of echoing what Reggie said, and I've been saying this for longest time, is if you hit on this guy, nobody's going to remember, nobody's going to care what we gave up to get him. The only time it becomes an issue is if you miss, and then you got to start over again. But, I've been seeing so much stuff, the smoke blowing that, the Vikings, if they can't move up to 3 or whatever, they're perfectly comfortable sticking and picking at 11 and 23. I know Lance and I talked about this earlier today too, that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell are going into year 3 of a 4-year contract. Do any of you guys honestly believe that they are willing to stake their careers and their jobs on Sam Darnold and Bo Nix being their options at quarterback this year?
No, the time is now to get it figured out.
100% not.
Yeah, if they're high on opiates.
I mean, I'm fine if Nix is the pick later on, if that's how it shakes out and you can't or don't want to give up what, these teams are wanting to move up, but that's not your freaking plan.
That's why their job starts now. Old contracts are out. Whoever they get, like Chris Gates said, it's their guy. They said They researched it for the last 5 fucking months. It's their guy. If this doesn't work out, they're all fired. And that's the way it should be. It's your guy.
Well, I mean, Kwesi said they've been watching this quarterback class since the 2 of them got here 2 years ago.
Then they better get the right guy.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why they're not going to, like Drew said, the seat's not hot, but they're going into year 3. I mean, they're not going to sit there and be like, oh, no, we're not trading up. This is our plan the whole time. No, they're going to be aggressive.
And according to, what I think, is if they've been scouting their guy for that long, then, they should be willing to give up whatever it takes to go get the guy that they love, and that they put the work in to get this guy.
Exactly.
To know this guy's going to be the guy that's going to take this team to that next level.
If they were going to give up picks to go up and get Richardson supposedly last year, they're probably going to be willing to give up more for this guy because they've already seen what they want to see for 2 years. They're not going into this shit blind.
Right. And that, that's the thing. We talked about this when these guys got hired, is we hired Kwesi and, more importantly, Kevin O'Connell to be able to identify and develop the starting quarterback, the franchise guy that this team has been searching for how goddamn long. Well, that time is here now. So we got to, I just cannot in good conscience believe the fact that, we're just going to sit around and pick through the stems and seeds like the Vikings have done in the past. That's not what they're here for. And hoping things work out. Kwesi himself said last week, hope is not a strategy. So they have a plan. I believe they're going to be aggressive, and I believe they're going to go after who the guys they want.
Yeah. If we have any question, we can hit on Twitter and see what they say.
Yeah, they all the
And check
answers
it
are on
the
there.
next
So
5 minutes if we don't
All
like
the
it, we read
answers
the
are
first
on
time.
there. This
well,
is
I
cool
mean,
being
you
on there. This is great being on here with you guys, by the way. You guys are like big league. I like it. Never been on a show with Reggie. The great Reggie Adams is here. I mean, come on.
George has a possibly irrational thought that we end up with Jaden Daniels out of this group and not the Drake May, JJ McCarthy that everybody's thinking we are getting. Thoughts on Jaden Daniels and how he would fit in here? Drew, we'll start with you this time.
I don't think he's Kevin O'Connell's cup of tea. He's more of a mobile Lamar Jackson style quarterback. And I think Kevin O'Connell is more comfortable working with and developing a pocket guy. I don't know that for a fact. But I will say this. Kirk Cousins' best part of his career, quarterbacking, his entire career since 2012, I think was under O'Connell.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And if he got it, that's something to say. That's something to lay in his corner and say, if he did that, then I really have a lot of confidence in working with a young guy. I would, man, Jaden Daniels his guy is a highlight reel. I don't think they're going to have interest in Jaden Daniels because it doesn't, I don't know. I'm not in the coaching staff and in the room, but it doesn't seem like O'Connell likes that kind of quarterback. What up, Forno?
Not much.
Welcome to the show from the Real Forno Show and Vikings First and Skol and various other media outlets. Tyler Forness. Good evening, Tyler.
What's Tyler's take on that last topic we just touched on about what do you think about the 3 first-round picks to move up to get a quarterback? Would you be doing it?
Yeah, if it hits, absolutely.
Is it worth it? It was the question.
Absolutely. I also want to reframe the question too, because we talk about it being 3 firsts, but in reality, it's 2 firsts and 2 seconds because the Vikings traded 2 seconds to go up and get 23. So if you frame it like that, it's probably going to change some opinions. Russell Wilson was worth it when he was traded for. He obviously wasn't worth it after the trade. That was for a multitude of reasons. But if the quarterback hits, that price doesn't matter. And the whole discussion about it being too much for the quarterback is the fear of that quarterback not working out. And the only reason why you make that kind of trade is if you firmly believe that that guy is going to work out. So if this staff believes that it is the right move to pay that price to go get Drake May, I'm in. If they believe it's that price to go get Jane Daniels, same. If they believe it's to get Bo Nix, no, fire them both. But for me, it's all about, is the guy going to hit? And my personal belief, based on all my film, is I think Drake May is going to be the one guy to mega hit in this class. I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are close, but I have severe questions about all of them. But the questions I have about Drake May, I think, are the most easily fixed. And that is some of the basic footwork stuff, especially considering how he played in the air raid. He loves to throw on the move. But if you get him static, he can kind of struggle a little bit. But air raid, you don't really work on footwork. Everything's so fluid because everything can branch out at certain points. The run and shoot is kind of a version of the air raid. They're not identical, but they're like brother and sister schemes. So when you have one route concept, each receiver could have 5 different actual routes that they could be running with different landmarks, and it all depends on coverage, and it all depends on how the cornerback is utilizing their own leverage. So all that stuff matters. And when you play in that kind of system, your footwork has to be super loose, because if you're facing at a 60-degree angle, but you got to throw at 80, you can't have super strict and precise footwork to throw at that 60-degree angle. You have to be able to flip and then throw at that 80. So those things all matter. And he's never really done pro style footwork before, which, I mean, it's not the biggest deal. Patrick Mahomes figured it out. Josh Allen figured it out. Lamar Jackson figured it out. These guys can be taught. They're smart people.
And what better
they're
place
good
than
athletes.
Minnesota?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna say, you want to know what another big thing is? The coaching staff you get and the roster that you hook up with. That's a huge thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
wherever these guys get drafted, that's almost the number one thing is, I mean, they're all talented guys, but where you go, whoever goes to Minnesota, I think has an advantage.
They have an absolute advantage. This will be, in my opinion, the best landing spot for a top 10 quarterback probably ever, except for two guys, Trey Lance and Patrick Mahomes. Now, Lance didn't work out, but to me, it's inarguable that the 49ers were a better landing spot. They were just coming off of a Super Bowl 2 years prior. They were loaded on offense, loaded on defense, and they needed a quarterback to help put them over the top. And they might have found one in Brock Purdy. They made it to overtime of the Super Bowl against the Chiefs this year. And then you have Mahomes, who got to sit behind Alex Smith, the 13-3 team, Andy Reid, who might be the best talent evaluator when it comes to quarterbacks ever. And those are the only two that I can think of that were even close to being better than this for like guys who went in the top 10. Because, I mean, Lamar Jackson went 32. The Ravens were a phenomenal infrastructure, but he went 32. So it's a different kind of scenario. And a lot of guys that go in the top 10 fail because of surroundings.
Sure.
Maybe Sam Darnold is good for that exact reason, because he's actually going to have a good supporting cast around him. That doesn't mean he's going to be good, but
Right.
hey, there's at least that variable that you're going to be able to check off. And if he is good, then you have an answer.
Well, typically, most often, the bad teams pick at the top of the draft. You know, the teams with the most, lopsided rosters, should you say, are the ones that typically pick at the top end of the draft. The losers of the league, the ones that you see there every single year. And when you get a team that is well constructed, that's picking at the top of the draft, that's not very common. And especially with Minnesota, where you have the infrastructure here for one of these top quarterbacks to end up. I mean, to me, that's just it's a good recipe for something in the future.
100%.
Absolutely.
Bouncing off what you just said, Tyler, earlier, I was like, I think that Drake May is who they want, but if they can't get to 3, McCarthy is who they love. I'm not saying separation of words there. I'm just saying, like you said, May is kind of that freak athlete who didn't necessarily play so much in that pro style system with the footwork, as in McCarthy played in that for the last how many years. So I just wanted to reiterate on that totally, that's exactly what we were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's all about circumstance, and
Exactly.
circumstance can mean a lot.
And like you taught that work, it's not a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
mean,
really intrigued to kind of see what happens here. Here's the thing, nobody's talking, but I will say, I don't think it's a mistake that both Alec Lewis and now Ben Gessling have released 7-round mock drafts with Drake May being the pick. I don't think that's a mistake. Gessling has been historically right a lot. He was right with Garrett Bradbury and Erd Smith. He was right with Jeff Gladney. He was right with Christian Darrisaw. He just gets it. He knows. And if he takes May, that says something.
Yeah, spicy hot take. May will not be a bust. Of all the quarterbacks, there may be some, but May will not be one.
He's a super talented guy, but you look at it's really not that hard to figure out. If you look at Ted Glover, you look at the guys that are up at the top. I mean, what style fits best with Kevin O'Connell? It's Drake May. I mean, it's not the other guys wouldn't even. I mean, that's got to be his favorite. Look, he plays the same style he played when he was with the Patriots way back when. I mean,
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
You know,
I will.
That might see a little bit of that brought into the offense this year.
I'll offer a counterpoint, because last year I had
not
multiple.
allowed to.
Yeah, a little tough. I had multiple sources who aren't connected to each other, and I think that's an important thing. Tell me that the Vikings did try to move up to go get Anthony Richardson, and quite frankly, I don't think Richardson's a phenomenal fit for what Kevin O'Connell wants to do. Like a lot of the timing stuff, because Richardson can throw with time, he can throw with precision. A lot of his accuracy issues were just basic mechanical stuff that he just never really had a opportunity to continue to grow and fix. Yeah, but he's just a super freak, and you can kind of work with some of those mechanic stuff when you have somebody that talented. But going up and wanting to get that guy kind of goes against some of the things that Kevin O'Connell like really preaches about what he wants on a quarterback. I think what he wants is an alien. And if he were to have gotten, let's say, Josh Dobbs at the beginning of the year, and he knew that he was going to start with him all year, I think you would have started to see a lot more incorporations of the concepts that Josh Dobbs likes that really take advantage of some of that running ability. So when you look at a guy like Jaden Daniels, I think that he could very easily be a guy that Kevin O'Connell loves. And with an entire offseason to adapt a playbook, it makes it a hell of a lot easier than 5 days or a week. Because if Josh Dobbs doesn't know anybody's names, you can't install whole packages for him. You just can't do that. You can maybe install like a couple read option plays because everybody has ran read option at one point in their career. So that like that's relatively easy. Hey, we're just going to run a basic read option, a basic RPO glance. And like they can put that in like 5 minutes. But you can't run like whole packages when he doesn't know a lot of these guys or the playbook. So I don't want to discredit the idea of Daniels at this point, just because I don't think we have enough information on what Kevin O'Connell truly wants in a quarterback. And I think the only way we're going to get that answer is by him taking one.
I think as many meetings as he's had the last 2 years, I think O'Connell sat across from Mensa having a beer going, if I could get Kirk Cousins, if I can get a guy like that, but could run for 20, 30 yards when he's in trouble, I'd have my quarterback. And that is Drake May. You watch him on film when he looks downfield every time he's scrambling out, but that guy can pick up yardage. He can pick up first downs. He's Kirk Cousins in the pocket, but he can run with the ball. I think that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, like I said, he ain't going to be nobody.
Ted Glover has joined the show, ladies and gentlemen, fresh off his grandson's T-ball game, and so kind as to jump in live from his vehicle.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late, but Josh went 1 for 2, scored a run.
Nice.
Pretty fired up about it.
That's right. I called it. I said rib dingers.
Ted, you ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm a little bit fired up.
Yeah,
just a little.
So I don't know if you guys have talked about this. Is this the most important draft in Minnesota Vikings history, as some people on Twitter are saying? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the most important, but it's definitely up there.
I agree.
I think it is.
I think, honestly, I think it just feels that way because it's in real time. I think
this is
you've never taken a quarterback
pivoting moment in Vikings franchise history. I think this is when we finally turn it all around and things start to feel different. And I believe this is, like Drew had alluded to earlier, that this will now be Quessy's and Kevin O'Connell's team as a whole. And this draft, Quessy needs to nail it, and I believe he will. And this will go down as one of the turning points in this storied franchise's history.
Fair, yeah, okay.
Nailed it.
That's a good idea, Ted. I'm going to do that with mine too. So anyway, we'll pose the question to Ted.
Nope, I'm going to be a rebel.
You do you, Reg. We're going to pose the question to Ted since everybody else has had a turn at it. 3 first-round picks to go up and get a quarterback. Is it the third quarterback off the board? Is it worth it?
Go get your guy.
Echo all across the board.
Go get him. Whether it's, I don't believe, especially the closer to the draft you get, the less and less I believe what I see on the internet. I firmly believe there is a handshake deal in place with a couple teams, whether it's the Patriots, the Bears and the Commanders, I think, have their guys locked in at 1 and 2. I think where the wheeling and dealing starts is possibly New England. I'm not so sure about Atlanta. I kind of believe that the Falcons, or not the Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals. I kind of believe the Arizona Cardinals really want Marvin Harrison Jr. So it's either the Patriots or the LA Chargers, and I firmly believe that the Vikings have definitely 1, if not 2, kind of handshake deals in place with team or teams, depending on how the board falls. If the guy they want at 3, whether it's Drake May, whoever is available, they have kind of a trigger ready to pull, and it's going to go. If May goes off the board at 2, and they think they can wait for McCarthy at 5, then they're going to do a deal with the Chargers at 5. and Jim Harbaugh.
Well, I know you frequent the social media cesspool known as Twitter, Ted, a fair amount as well. The one guy on there who I don't know if he's actually in the building, but he's definitely very well connected. Guy that goes by the handle of Shredder Bike.
He doesn't know anything.
There's been a lot of stuff. I've seen him be very accurate on stuff. I mean, he said there is a handshake deal in place. Believe it or not.
I believe there is. I don't know who it is, who it's with. I think it depends on how the board falls.
Yeah.
But I believe there is. I don't know with who, but yeah, I think there is.
Yeah. My thought is, if you believe the Patriots aren't as big on Drake May, but they're bigger on Jaden Daniels. If provided that Daniels goes to Washington like everybody expects him to, then that spot opens up at 3, and that's where the Vikings go.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's for sure.
24 hours.
Thank God we'll find out tomorrow. I'm
No shit. No shit. I am so sick of talking about this draft. I just want it to be done and over with. I want to know what we've done, who our guy is, and go forward and live out my pipe dream.
We all know what your pipe dream is, bro.
He said pipe dream, not dream involving a pipe.
Listen, I'm a Mario fan too, but Zelda's better.
All right, so we've been talking about quarterbacks here for the better part of 30 minutes. The Vikings do not have a day 2 pick, but they have several day 3 picks. What do you guys takes on guys that the Vikings would be targeting starting in the 4th round when we roll around with pick 108 and then the remainder of day 3? Ted, we'll start with you since you're late to the party.
I asked this. Tyler was on Twitter today, and I actually asked him. He said defensive tackle, and I kind of agree. And Drew and I have talked about this on our show. And Drew's very big on defensive tackle, and I think that's a big position to need. And Tyler, you put a couple names out there earlier today, and I, for the life of me, can't remember who you said. But I recognized one of the names, and I thought, yeah, if they don't, if for whatever reason they end up using the first 2 first-round picks they have, and they don't pick again until Saturday, those would be a couple of guys that I'd really like. Who are they again that you mentioned?
I think it was the LSU guys, Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo. That's probably who it was. Yeah. Interesting guys. Jordan Jefferson, a lot of people like. He's more of a nose. That LSU defensive line is going to have 3 guys drafted on day 3, and that defense was ass. It was terrible. Just hilarious because in college football, you win in the trenches. If you can dominate in the trenches, you can win everything. Just because the talent gap can be very, very extreme when it comes to those positions. But yeah, defensive line is an interesting one. It's also Newton and Murphy are really good. I love Darius Robinson, who I think is a 5 technique, but there isn't a lot of depth at this position right now. And it's tough because college football is just not giving it to us.
Amen, Dan.
Amen, Diane. Lieutenant Diane.
I've also said on that I think when we get to the 4th round, there's going to be better when you're talking just best players available. There are going to be better offensive players on the board than there are going to be defensive players. And I would argue the Vikings have done a better job addressing the defense in free agency. And if you want to go best player available at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if they go maybe looking for a wide receiver 3, because I think there's going to be better wide receiver talent on the board in the 4th round than there will be defense. I've kind of been trying to manifest Cade Stover, Ohio State tight end, because I don't think TJ Hawkins is going to be ready beginning of the year. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings go offense, but if you're talking position of need, I think Drew and Tyler are right that defensive tackle is probably the spot they should go.
All right. Tyler, I know you got to go here before too awful long, so give us some names of guys that I know you do extensive draft research and you know all these guys probably better than the rest of us combined. So throw us some names out there who the Vikings are probably looking at in those mid rounds.
I'm going to give you one because I just love this guy, and he was almost the captain of the All Forno team. Louisville corner Jarvis Brownlee Jr. I am just obsessed watching his tape, and he is an absolute dog, and he's going to be aggressive. He's going to punch you in the mouth, and when you punch him back, he's going to ask for more. Great ball skills, a little bit undersized. He's bigger than Mekhi Blackman was last year. Blackman only weighed 178 pounds, but you had like Brownlee, I think was like 194 at 5'10", 5'11", which I'm fine with. Really good ball production, and he's not going to let you do anything. And his teammate Quincy Riley is going to come out next year, and he might be better. Just an awesome dude. I didn't know anything about him going into the Senior Bowl. Watch him at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, dude, this guy's good. Went and watched this film. I'm like, yep, I'm in. I gave him a second round grade. I think he goes off the board in round 4. And if and when he does, that could be an absolute steal. I like Cam Hart as well from Notre Dame, 6'3", 204, over 33-inch arms, but he's got shoulder issues that teams are really concerned about. So those would probably be the two guys that I would really like on day 3. Also, if Malachi Corley makes it to day 3, I'm going to scream. I'm going to scream to the rooftops to get Malachi Corley.
Yes.
2-star cornerback out of high school, then went to Western Kentucky, started at running back, then moved to wide receiver. He started to show some real nuance in the route running. It's not consistent. It's not all the way there yet. But if you want a Deebo Samuel archetype player, he is not exactly like Deebo Samuel, but he's the same height, same weight, and has the same general skill set of how he plays the game. And I think you can utilize that a lot in an offense that goes over the middle of the field, which is what the Vikings do. Get him on in-breakers. He understands how to use leverage, understands how to try and attack the outside shoulder before cutting in. And like, give me Malachi Corley. I would do a lot of
everything and can turn a 5-yard slant route into a home run touchdown.
Why is he a day 3 guy then?
I don't think he gets to day 3, but if he somehow does, because it is a deep receiver class, and there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 guys. There's like that guy should have gone in round 2 that ends up there in round 4. So I would do everything for Malachi Corley.
I agree.
But I got to go, guys. Thank God we're less than 24 hours out. Happy Drake May Day tomorrow. Have yourselves a good one. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for joining, Tyler.
See you, Tyler.
Peace out, bro.
See you, Greg Allman.
All right, so we'll move on. Lance, you got anybody in mid rounds you're looking at?
Tyler took my guy Corley, man. I was looking at Corley for sure. I like what he brings to the table. He could take like I said, a 5-yard slant and turn it into a 60-yard touchdown. You can run jet sweeps with the guy. He's an explosive guy. Really doesn't get tackled by the first defender that comes after him. Smaller school, Western Kentucky, but a lot of high ceiling there for this kid, I think, and not talked about enough in this draft.
Okay, Trooster, how about you?
Oh man, there's a lot of good players in this draft. This is look at all the positions. For me, what I saw combined, I think this is probably one of the most talented drafts across the board. I mean, lately there's been receivers and cornerback draft, and this year we got wideouts. We got a better tight end group. We got a better safety group. We got a better corner group, I think. Defensive tackle is stronger. Offensive line is stronger. Teams are going to be getting some great players. I like Robinson. I think Forno's onto that. He's my favorite guy. You could play him at nose. You could play him at 5-tech. I love that guy for his versatility. I wouldn't mind seeing us go after a running back later on in the mid rounds, maybe a Brandon Allen type of guy, or Marshawn Lloyd. I really like him. I love Aaron Jones. And if Aaron Jones stays healthy, he's the best free agent pickup in all the NFL this offseason. I'll say that. I don't know if he'll stay healthy. I think we should look at running back just to maybe not in the 4th, but maybe the 5th, one of those late guys. And there's so many guys to go over that I would love to take in the mid round. There's just not any, there's no time to do it all, man. There's safeties I like. There's defensive tackles I like. I mean, Ted mentioned Stover. We're not going to have a tight end for half the season. We could always look there, but the good thing is it is loaded up. But I would like to see late, the kid from South Dakota, the Greenfield. I think he's going to be a tremendous player. Garrett Greenfield from South Dakota. I went back, watched more tape on him today, and some guys just are brutes, man. And he's you could just tell watching people. Some good, really good football players. But I'm open for any position for the Vikings mid-round.
All right. Reggie, your turn.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not going to completely regurgitate what Drew just said, but I am going to hit on a couple of smaller school guys going to South Dakota State. He hit on a guy I was going to bring up, Greenfield. I'm also going to say Mason McCormick. I'm not sure if he makes it to day 3. Isaiah Davis to hit on the running back position. I think he is a smaller guy, but he plays very strong. And the reason why he's probably a day 3 guy is because of his size and, the competition that they want to maybe hang on some of these guys. But a lot of these smaller school guys, they're hungry, man, and they're going to come in there and fight to win. I also like Robinson, the McKinley kid out of Texas A&M. If he's there in the 4th round, he's a bigger guy. I was just going to say that.
McKinley might end up being the best nose in here.
He might, Malachi Corley, me and Lance both liked him, but a guy that's in the CFL, and he may go undrafted, but Quintez Stingers, I'm telling you guys need to go check the tape. This kid can play. He's young, and he's not super young. I think he's a little over 21, 22, 23, something like that. But I think he's 6'2", long. I think he's the first player ever in CFL history, I believe, to win like the player of the year or something like that. He's just.
No, I won. I was the first one to win that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
the
that.
second
Is that
guy.
when you were with the Saskatchewan Roughriders or the Winnipeg?
No, I was playing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
No,
back
it
then.
was
my
the
bad.
Edmonton
Okay, yeah, that's
Eskimos,
right.
and
My
he
bad.
threw 4 touchdowns and returned 4 fumbles. One the wrong way. No, I'm just kidding.
Reggie's up on it. He's got these players
But anyway,
down.
I got a name too for you guys to check out. I always keep it up on the HBCU just because I got family that plays there. I'm hoping here in a couple of years my cousin's son will make it onto the Vikings Report. Once he sends me his tape here, he's only a sophomore and he's going to start this year. So, but once he does, I'll definitely be plugging you guys into that. But his name is Jordan Talbert, so keep an eye out for that name. Also, but the guy I want to bring up is Lubert Danellis. I think it's Grambling. I can't remember the school right now, but guy reminds me of John Randall.
That's good.
He's like 6'1", 6. He's 280 something, but is just solid, just all muscle. Guy is so strong. I mean, he just forklifts everybody. And then they played a bigger school too. I don't think it was Division I, but it was a bigger school, and he went up against some actual guys that are going to be drafted higher in this draft. And I mean, he just suplexed them out there. So if you get time, go ahead and look him up before tomorrow. I'm sure he'll go undrafted along with Stingers, but these are guys that I think if they get into the right system with the right coaching and given a chance, they could be great players.
I believe Randall went to a small school as well. So
Yes, he did.
I can't remember the school. A guy that me and Ted interviewed on Vikings Report, Josh Green, is going to be in this draft. So I'm kind of hoping from Tennessee State, plays for Eddie George.
Yep.
He's a friend of the show, and I hope he does get drafted. I'm going to give a shout out to him. I'll add one name, Ryno, that I forgot. I like that wide receiver, Lad McConkey from Georgia.
Yes.
I think he's a sleeper. I love that
Baller.
dude. I think he's going to go under the radar, guys, and I think if we could take a flyer on him late, we'll get a steal. He's a very smart player.
If we're talking about receiver too, Malik Washington is a guy I really liked. I mean, you look at that, I think he's like 5'9", maybe 5'10". He had the same 40 and the same vertical as Moss, but a lot smaller. And it's just like he's kind of that Brandon Powell type, but he's a little bit more solidly built. Just like Malachi Corley, he can make plays.
For me, I guess if you're looking at wide receivers, I like me some Luke McCaffrey. I think, he's got the pedigree. He's got the family lineage, and the kid can play. And he hasn't been a wide receiver all that long. He started off as a quarterback. But on the defensive side of things, we've talked about this time and time again. You got to build the trenches up. McKinley Jackson's a guy I like. Christian Boyd from Northern Iowa, I think is going to be a
Saved
very
him for
good
you,
player.
buddy.
Yes, Boyd is a great
I saved
player.
him for you, Ryno. I knew you were going to say him. I knew I saved him for you. I didn't want to take everybody.
Appreciate it, because you guys are taking all the other ones that I liked. There's a few other ones there. I think a center is definitely on the board. Hunter Nosrad or Bortolini out of Wisconsin, Bo Limmer from Arkansas. One of those guys, I think,
Matt
could
Lee.
be in that. In that spot. It's we all know you got to build the trenches up in order to make it successful. And getting a big, nasty nose tackle and somebody that's not going to get forklifted half a second after they snap the ball on the offensive side of thing, I think, is the huge ones for me.
So what you're saying is you're not sold on Garrett Bradbury?
I haven't seen really enough of him to make an honest opinion of him. I might need 3 or 4 more years yet on him.
Look at Lance. Doesn't Lance look like a fucking center? He does right now. He looks like
I'm actually in my stance as we're having the show.
Been
Yeah.
practicing all day.
Eric Mangold 2.0.
Tape's going
right
to break
there.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm just seeing this coming over Twitter right now.
Oh, shit.
Lance Bruns has been suspended 4 games for ped usage. So yeah, there we go.
We can still get him in the 6th. We can get him in the 6th.
Yeah, it is a little known fact that Lance does most of the show out of a 3-point stance. So
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Give me the call.
The only other guy, and this is a interesting one, because prior to his incident, there was no chance. But what do you think Devondre Sweat's going to fall that far? Or you think people are going to just go past the DUI thing and pick him 2nd, 3rd round?
3rd round? What?
I think I'll just answer it quickly. I think he still has a chance to sneak it to the end of the 1st, and there's no way Sweat gets out of the
He's
top
a
50
first-round talent.
Yeah.
Not getting out of the 2nd. I'd bet anything on it.
If he made it past 20, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. I just think he's going to be he's a possibly guy if we do keep both picks in a dream scenario where if McCarthy somehow falls to 11 or whatever the guy is that you like, that's higher on the board. You could end up getting Sweat at 23. If those are your 2 guys, oh gosh, shut it down.
Hasn't every college person had a DUI at this point?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've seen a lot of places where they're saying he's going to take a tumble because of this. I had him kind of in the early part of the 2nd round myself, just because the run on quarterbacks and all the offensive players up at the top of the board is going to push a lot of these very, very good defensive players down to late in the 1st and into the 2nd round. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people make it out to be. Now, if he'd have been the other guy in that accident that bolted the minute he got out of the car, that maybe could have caused a little bit more of a problem with it. But
can I shoot a question at all of you real quick?
Absolutely.
Say what if it, for sake of argument, just say they had a pick at 23. Somehow they worked out, they got their quarterback, whatever, but they got to keep that pick. I know the answer is, well, Drew, it depends how the board falls out. Take that answer off the board and just give me a person you'd like to take at 23.
Johnny Newton.
You're on Newton.
Yeah.
Johnny Newton.
Okay.
Newton would be my guy too, probably.
Ryan Murphy if they're there.
Yeah. Murphy or Newton would be my 2.
We need some teeth in the middle.
That's what she said.
Are you assuming that quarterback was taken at 11?
Ted, who do you want? Ted?
Drew, are we assuming quarterback was taken at 11 or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd take Sweat over Newton.
I'm interested to hear your points on that.
As Drew has educated me in this offseason, this positional analysis we do, Sweat is a pure nose tackle, and with the 3-4 defense that Flores runs, and we have seen it. The Vikings need a pure nose tackle, a zero technique guy, whatever it is you want to call him. And he has said, and I trust Drew's judgment, that Sweat is the best pure nose tackle in this draft. And you could say, well, God, Ted, he had a DUI. You can't draft a kid in the 1st round that had a DUI. The Vikings, and Quasi Adolfo Mensa's first draft drafted Ed Ingram, who had like
Yeah.
a sex assault charge thing or whatever.
Exactly. Moss had weed charges.
And they still took him, and he's turned out, they investigated and whatever. And he's turned out so far to be the best pick of that draft right now. I think, I don't know. I don't, first of all, I don't think Noon's going to be on the board. I think Noon will be gone. If let's say Newton and Sweat are gone, I'm probably going to pick a corner. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is probably the best cornerback that's probably still going to be on the board.
Great
answer. I think I go in that direction.
Yeah. I think that Sweat did just as much good for his character as he did bad by getting that DUI. I mean, he could have easily tucked and ran and hide after that happened, and he went out right after, had his meetings, met it face up. I think that's what's going to benefit him, and that's why he won't slide that far.
I'll say this very quickly about Sweat. Your job in the 3-4, the 3 down linemen, their own job is to take up blockers. They're not expected to rush or do anything. That's their job in the 3-4. That's how it was developed by Arnsparger back in the 70s. That's their job. You watch tape on Sweat, single block, 0 stops. Nobody could stop him the whole entire season on a single block. Double blocks, they stopped him 50% of the time. They were triple blocking that guy to try to stop him. He's an animal. And if he eats up 3 blockers, the rest of the guys, the linebackers, Van Ginkel, all those guys are going to eat. They're going to be on fire. They're going to love the guy because the more people he eats up on the offensive line, the 3-4 is about your linebackers making play, not your defensive
And you'll have
linemen.
to blitz less because if you got 3 guys blocking one guy, then you're getting one-on-ones on the outside. You send one extra guy, you have nobody to pick him up.
The job of the 3-4, the linebackers have to tackle. It's not
scratch Kool-Aid McKinstry. He won't be the best guy on the board, I don't think. I think Cooper DeJean will still be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cooper say that before we got off that topic. Oh,
Cooper
I like
DeJean.
that guy.
I would love to have that. Man, we could do some damage with that.
We get Cooper DeJean. Oh my gosh.
We're getting
Is it pronounced DeJean? Is it DeJean or DeJean?
DeJean.
DeJean.
The Iowa kid.
He would move in right.
The one that messed up and gave my Gophers an actual victory this year.
No, when Harrison Smith leaves next year, which I'm guessing he will, DeJean would come in and play the next 10 years, Ted.
He's a guy you can plug in for the next decade, Drew.
With fluid hips.
All right.
Yeah. It's about time I had to mention that Michigan won the national championship. Do we remember that?
By the way, Ted, I also want Cade Stover as well. I think that'd be awesome. I think he'd be a good guy. But I also think that Hawkinson's going to be back sooner than people expect, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
That's another one, or another mid-round guy I'm just thinking about now that I've been kind of looking at. That Eric All, the tight end out of Iowa.
Yeah.
That would probably, I think, would fit in there pretty well, as a temporary Hawk until Hawkinson gets back. So
I like that one end, that tight end that Drew had on his board. He was a lower rated guy. I can't think of him right now. We're like number 30 or something, but didn't have a lot of catches, but was a solid guy block. And George Kittle is his idol. I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh man, who was that? I do like Eric All. Go back and watch that touchdown he had against Penn State. That is tremendous stuff.
mm-hmm.
I don't know, on the big board. I had Eric Law on the Viking board. I think what you're talking about is McAllen Castles or AJ. No, there's somebody before Barner. You're talking about.
They did have McAllen Castles in for a top 30 visit too. So
he's a late round guy. I think the Vikings could pick up and be good with it. He's probably my favorite late round guy. Him or I like Dallin Holker, but I don't think we're getting him. He's kind of a Dallin Holker from Colorado State. He reminds me of Hawkinson. That's the guy that Reggie that reminded me of Hawkinson.
Yes.
He's like a mini Hawkinson if you watch his tape, but Dallin Holker would be a really good. And Trey McBride was before him. Him and Trey McBride, who plays for the Cardinals now, they learned off each other. They're very good friends, and they kind of coach each other on the tight end position. But yeah, I think tight end's certainly in play. I mean, are you guys that high on all our tight ends right now?
Yeah, I think I think Josh Oliver's underrated. I think there's a lot more to him than what
He's pretty good.
People have seen. But yeah, until Hawkinson gets back, I'm not comfortable with just Johnny Muntcake and Nick Muse filling up behind there.
Nick Muse. I think Nick Muse's best days are ahead of him, honestly.
I like Nick Muse too, but
Lance, we were saying that 3 fucking years ago, though. When are the best days gonna come forward?
When Johnny Munt isn't KOC anymore.
I mean, if he's not getting snaps away from Munt, and I mean, just like
when Johnny Munt's not KOC's guy anymore, then
there's
Nick
a serious
Muse
drop off after Hawkinson.
Wasn't it Muse in the preseason, like last year, that just set it on fire? He was doing really good. But what does the guy have to do to get PT? I mean, come on, get him in there.
My opinion is, if you can improve a position, you improve the position.
Yeah, and right now, since we don't really realistically have a real tight end number 1 on the roster outside of TJ Hawkinson. I mean, so the guys that we do have to roll with are workable guys that we have on the roster that will make it work until Hawk does get back. It's not the worst, tight end room in the league, but we got guys here that can make it work without Hawk for the time being. Like we made it work without Jefferson at wide receiver last year.
That question that guy just asked, let's talk about that real quick. When are we getting our center? Are we getting a center?
Oh,
are they going to roll with Bradbury?
Sure seems like it.
I mean, I think center's in play, like I mentioned earlier. If for some reason we stick and pick at 11 and 23, say we get, whether it's McCarthy or Penix or whoever at 11, if he's on the board, Jackson Powers Johnson is probably right at the top of my wish list at 23.
Yeah.
Going to be a hell of a player in this league.
That guy is a monster. I hadn't really watched a whole lot of him until I was watching Senior Bowl practice and saw him just literally burying people out on the field there every time somebody came at him. And then went back and started watching some tape. And I mean, that kid is going to be very good.
Yes, and it's all linked up.
Old guy that played on the Dolphins, Stevenson.
Yeah,
center for the Dolphins, Dwight Stevenson. Yep. He reminds me.
Yeah, he was a hell of a player back in the late 80s, early 90s, wasn't he?
Right, right.
Yeah. Do we even have a backup center now? Do we even have a backup center now? Who the fuck is our backup center?
Dan Feeney.
Dan Feeney's
a guard.
Competition between Feeney.
Dan Feeney's
he was guard and center, and
he's a terrible.
Feeney is terrible.
It would not surprise me if
center.
Dan Feeney is your center going into training camp.
Dan Feeney.
Let's hope not.
He can't play. That's like saying he can't play center. That's like saying Neil Young can play Eruption on the guitar.
Neil Young can play Eruption on the toilet these days, I bet.
Not gonna. Who was that guy you mentioned? Forno came out and said, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna call
the Shredder Mike.
I'm gonna try to get a little cage match going between Willie Nelson and that guy. That would be great. Forno. You guys pumped on tomorrow? I know Reggie is.
I am. So who are you married to in the first round? Who's your guy? If you can go out and get your guy, who's it going to be?
For me, it's JJ McCarthy. I've said it. I've been saying it for a while. If they're set on quarterback, I think McCarthy has that big moment ability, that big moment gene that I don't think you can teach. Almost everything is coachable in the NFL for a quarterback, other than completion percentage. If you can't complete a pass in college, you can't do it in the pros, with the rare exception, Josh Allen being one. He completes a lot of his passes, so that's fine. Footwork is coachable. Downfield accuracy is coachable. Everything is coachable on JJ McCarthy, just like it is on Drake May, whatever. But where I think McCarthy exceeds Drake May is when and this is why I hated him. I absolutely despised him at Michigan, because when Michigan needed a play, absolutely needed a play, JJ McCarthy made it. And that's just I want that. I want that in my quarterback.
Yeah, I like that about McCarthy too, as well. Just the record itself, it's 63-3 since he's been 15 years old. Everywhere he goes, he wins. I believe he commands that of his team as well, that he's playing for. If we come away with May or McCarthy, I'm fit to be tied, to be honest, at the end of the night. I do like what McCarthy brings to the table, like outside of football, as far as a person goes, and where his mind just is. And the fact that he might be the smartest quarterback on the coming in on the whiteboard leads me to believe that if he was asked to start the season, he probably could handle it. The thing about McCarthy is that they say that we haven't seen enough. Well, when you do get the chance to see him shine, he takes that moment and he runs with it as well. You know.
Yeah.
Like I was asking, who are you taking to? Who are you married to, Drew, in this draft as far as our first pick goes?
You know, I like either May or McCarthy, but I'll tell you something. Everything you guys mentioned on McCarthy, I don't give. If you look at the lineage of great quarterbacks from the school, that kind of scares me about May because they have had 0 quarterbacks come out of that school that have been worth a shit. Michigan's a different story. McCarthy makes a lot of big plays and he's played in huge games, but it's the attitude that Ted just mentioned. If you guys have a chance, go back and look at the press conference of when Michigan lost to TCU a couple years ago, that 52-45 game that they blew in that playoff game to go to the national championship. McCarthy's sitting at that table. He's sitting at that table with a really horrible look on his face, and the questions are coming in, and he didn't answer any one of them specifically. He just looked at the camera and said, "We'll be back and we're going to win the whole thing next year." And he gets up and walks away.
That is such little bit that's speaking so much.
That's putting your stock on the table.
He's got these moments where, what did they do? They came back with Corum and they won it all. He's just, like Ted said, there's something about him. And that's why I would like to have him, because I know he's the guy in the huddle that says, "Fuck these guys. Let's go score. Let's go." And so
I think that it factor that we proverbially talk about that you want to see in a quarterback, McCarthy has that. And I would love to have some of that as well here in Minnesota.
And if he struggles, he's not going to get down. He's going to work harder. There's a difference. That's usually the breaking point of quarterbacks when they make the transition into the NFL. Ask Reggie. When things start going bad, if they work hard or they sulk about it, that's the difference. If guys make it, that's the difference.
Reggie, who are you married to then? With your first pick of the draft.
I mean, third time's the charm. I mean, JJ McCarthy, baby. I said all the same things that Drew and Ted have just hit on, and to bounce off what you said about the it factor, bro. I think he has the it factor, but I think he has more of a we factor. And JJ McCarthy says, we're going to win. We're going to be great. We are going to be champions. And that is something you don't teach. You're born with that enigma, that thing, that charisma, and the thing that draws people to you. The thing
he holds everybody else to the same level he expects out of himself.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not gonna be the guy that's gonna, say, well, you guys need to do extra reps, and he's not doing extra reps. He's going to be the first guy in the building and the last guy to leave, and he's going to never say die. He's going to be that assassin, when we're down and, oh yeah, let's just run this play. McCarthy's going to be like, nah, let's go for the jugular. Like I said, he's got that we factor, and you can't teach that, man.
We are going to illegally record the opponent's sideline.
Yeah. I remember one that stuck out for sure was after the Penn State game. The lady came over to interview him, and she said, "JJ, how did you feel about today?" She asked him this totally quarterback question about something, completion, how'd you feel in the third quarter, whatever. And he said, all he answered with, "Did you see our defense today? Our defense was on fire. Did you see that catch A.J. Barner made, the tight end?" He's talking about everybody else. He's talking about the defense, and that wasn't even the question. She asked him about his game, and he's all, "Did you see did you see Chris Jenkins? That guy was throwing people around. He had a big grin on his face, and he was so fucking excited. It was so sincere and so real." You gotta love that guy. You gotta love, because he's not a me guy.
Exactly. One more thing about McCarthy, since all these analysts and people on Twitter want to throw out all these different things and use words and adjective to describe these players, I think explosive is a pretty good one to use when you're talking about playmaking. And I mean, he was the guy in third down explosive plays. Like Ted said, when Michigan needed a play on third and whatever, he wasn't just making the first down. I mean, these were 15, 20, 30-yard gains at crucial points of the game, and it broke the defense back. He's the number one guy from the position, not Caleb Williams, not Drake May, not a running back, not any of these other positions, not a wide receiver. That JJ McCarthy is the number one guy in explosive plays on 3rd and long.
You're not going to break him mentally, Lance.
Exactly. In my opinion, I think that's pretty freaking good.
He's the strongest guy mentally. He's the strongest mental quarterback up here, mental toughness that's out of that top 5. I can guarantee you that.
Exactly, Dan.
He won't quit until you make him not play. He won't quit. He'll keep.
Who are you married to, Ryno? Who's your guy? First pick for the Vikings. Who are you taking?
I can't disagree with anything you guys have said about JJ McCarthy. I love the kid. I mean, Drake May has been my guy since the very beginning, and the 1As, 1Bs have kind of floated a little bit. McCarthy's a strong 1B for me as well, but I think the target is Drake May. I think that's the guy they've been watching for the last couple of years.
Right.
You know, the hiring of Josh McCown as a quarterback's coach, you know, you get a little extra history there, whether you believe that being part of it or not. You know, we talked about this the other day that, you know, a good comp on Drake May is Matt Stafford, and Kevin O'Connell won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. You know, of course, under McVay, but still that's just kind of guy, you know, he's got the little sneaky mobility to him. He's, you know, got the big arm. He's got the issues with May are correctable. I believe it's like Forno was saying earlier, it's footwork. It's some of that fluidity in in his hips and all that other kind of good football jargon type stuff. But, I mean, if I can get either one of those two guys, I'm going to walk out of tomorrow night happy as hell.
So since we all said McCarthy was pretty much the guy we're married to, the pick will be Drake May tomorrow.
I wouldn't mind Drake May at all either, and I kind of disagreed. Forno was talking about Daniels, and I think Kevin O'Connell wants a freak. You know what? I think Kevin O'Connell wants what he's comfortable with, and that's a pocket guy.
I think so too.
He's not going to. When you develop Jaden Daniels, well, I may be able to, but I know I can develop that North Carolina guy. That's how I think he feels.
So I got a question. Of these, I'm not even going to say the top 6 because Penix, most of us in this group, in this chat anyway, right now on the show, agree that Penix and Nix would probably be outside the top 4. So of those top 4 guys, give me a guy that you guys think could slide, that possibly could easily slide, not easily, but could slide outside the top 10. It's draft night. Crazy shit happens.
Out of those 4 quarterbacks?
Out of the top 4 guys, who's a guy that possibly, for no reason or the other, but just maybe slides out of the top 5?
I don't think any of the quarterbacks. I think maybe that Latu guy is going to fall maybe towards the end of the first round.
Oh, I want him bad.
He's a good player.
I want him bad at 23.
I don't think any of the quarterbacks are.
I don't either.
I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, guys, we've been going on here about an hour and 10 minutes. Ted's fading into darkness, and my phone's starting to get a little warm on me here. But so we'll go around the room one last time here. When it all boils down to it, tomorrow night, who do the Vikings walk out of the first night of the draft with? 1 player, 2 player? Who is it? Go, Ted.
With the 5th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select quarterback JJ McCarthy, Michigan Wolverines.
Okay. Brunswick?
I can't make up my mind between the two, between McCarthy or May. But going off of what speculation is saying, I'm thinking that we got a handshake deal in place with New England already. I think we're going up to 3. I think we're taking May tomorrow night with that 3rd pick. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, I'll be happy with May and McCarthy equally, in my opinion.
Brewster?
I'm right with Lance Bruns. I think it's going to be May or McCarthy, but I do think it'll be Drake May, who they're going to have.
Reggie?
Yeah, I'm going to say that I think it's going to be JJ McCarthy. And there is a handshake deal in place, but Robert Kraft is going to screw O'Connell on draft night, and he's going to take Drake May and say, I knew you wanted him, so I took your guy. And then O'Connell's going to trade up and said, you should have taken McCarthy because now we're going to run the league for the next 20 years.
Who's going to say that to him? Kraft?
I said that I believe there is a handshake deal in place, but I think Kraft is going to screw over O'Connell tomorrow night, and he's going to take Drake May because he knows he wants May, and that O'Connell will take McCarthy.
Kraft is like, he's halfway to Looney land. You hear that?
Exactly, and he's dirty. I don't trust him. I think he
Can't.
could easily screw over whatever handshake deal him and O'Connell have in place.
I think one minute he's at the game, and the other minute he thinks he's at Burger King in the playground. He doesn't.
I mean,
getting his happy endings at the massage party.
That leaves
Bo
Nix.
Michigan great guy, and you didn't take the next one. Well, sorry for you, scrub.
I think that leaves Bo Nix for Ryno, because I know he's been advocating for him.
Oh yeah, you know me, Drew. I'm a huge Bo Nix guy.
He loves him some Jordan Travis.
I mean, take a look. Drake May has been the consensus number 2 quarterback more or less since last year for this 2024 draft class. How many of us thought that we had a chance to get Drake May coming into this whole situation? I believe the opportunity is there. I believe there is a handshake deal in place. And provided that the Commanders don't screw things up by not taking Jaden Daniels, I believe with the 3rd pick in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings select quarterback out of University of North Carolina, Drake May.
The Washington's taken Daniels.
They are.
Yeah, they are. I believe so.
The Kingsbury, connection there, and wanting the mobility in his quarterback, and then also whispers of Washington wanting to model their team after Baltimore and what they're doing over there in Baltimore as well. I mean, all signs lead to it being Daniels being their guy, and that's who they're going to stick and pick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! I just someone agreed with me.
Ted, awesome. This is the time we get a plug for our show tomorrow night's party. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll be on at 6:30 Central Time. Me and Drew and Chris Gage from Daily Norseman for our live draft show. Will be on for the entire first round.
Yes, join us. Have fun. Win something.
Oh, we'll be there. Eating delicious meats.
Win a prize. We got draft hats. We got draft T-shirts. We got a bunch of shit we're giving away.
It's Drake May. We're blaring that song. It's going to be May, and me and Lance are going to rip our shirts off and go live and spin them around.
We get Drake May. I may take a couple of Coors Lights and do a Stone Cold Steve Austin on camera.
Okay.
You better record it and send it to us.
We're gonna have that.
Record it. Post your videos in the group where it didn't happen.
No, we're gonna do that. Ryno's gonna patch into our show for the Stone Cold thing. Let's do that.
Tune in. But Drew and I got a surprise. Tune in because Drew and I got a surprise tomorrow night when we start the show. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Heck yeah. If it's McCarthy, Drew, you got to take your shirt off and spin it around your head.
All right. Well, okay. I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. Drew, Ted, thank you so much for joining. Love having you guys on. Just a ton of knowledge, and always enjoy doing the shows with you. Same thing to Forno. Big thank you again, everybody. Tomorrow night, like I said, Vikings Report with Drew and Ted live for the entire first round of the draft. Make sure you go over there and check them out. And a lot of fun. I'll be there. Brunswick and Smokehouse will be there probably. We're going to watch that. We're going to watch the Vikings get their quarterback of the future and create a new era in Minnesota Vikings football. So,
yeah.
With that, thank you guys very much. And we will see you for the draft. And once things have all said and done and cooled over, we will have a recap next week on everybody that the Vikings picked, including the quarterback, ideally, and everybody else as well. So with that, you guys have a great night. We have made the draft. We are less than 24 hours away from knowing who our quarterback is going to be. So
fucking toast to the future. Let's fucking go get it done. Let's go get our guy, and let's win some fucking games and get a trophy here in Minnesota.
Did I tell you guys I saw 2 days ago, I saw Joan Jett at an ice cream place down the road.
I got to go. We'll see you later, guys.
Later, bro.
Thanks, Ted.
I saw Joan Jett.
Really?
Shit.
Yeah. You know what I said? I love Rocky Road. She fucking laughed about it. She's laughing all till hell breaks over. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, guys.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Hell yeah, Unc.
Have a great evening,
God,
everybody.
and burnt ends.
Meow.